So moving along here, pretty significant visit to report. Squirrel White, who was one of Tennessee's top receivers the last couple seasons, is visiting Florida State, a program that needs a ton of help at the wide receiver position. It was ugly last year, and they're not returning much from that group. So it's going to be pretty much a whole new influx of talent there. Thomas Castellanos at quarterback, Gus Malzahn at OC. So you have a whole bunch of moving pieces there. It's going to be a whole new look on that side of the ball for Florida State. But this right here, Squirrel White, would be a great start. He's visiting Florida State today. Again, 34 catches last year, 381 yards, 2 touchdowns last season, had 67 catches the previous year. But if you're talking about an established SEC wide receiver, this would be a welcome addition to Florida State's roster.
Yeah, and it gives them something different that they don't have in the room right now. So they've really gone all in on size. Deuce Robinson being the highest profile addition, but they got a lot of size in that wide receiver room, guys that are 6'3 plus. Also, their young tight ends are pretty much the centerpiece, at least of their young talent, right, is concentrated at that tight end position. So you need some speed. You had Jaylen Brown last year, Malik Benson, but they didn't really get, they didn't produce as downfielders. Was that the quarterback? Was that the offensive line not having enough time to protect? Whatever it was, they didn't get the job done going downfield. So Squirrel White, someone from Pinson, Alabama originally, it's only about a 5-hour drive from Tallahassee. He has 10.6 speed, 21.5 in the 200 meters. And it's not just track. You've seen it in the SEC, getting downfield. Did really, really well with Joe Milton, who had that downfield arm. So if you're trying to balance out this wide receiver room, yes, you have contested catch guys for Castellanos. Obviously, the running game with Castellanos is going to be probably the focus of this team with Gus Malzahn and a running quarterback. But when you have a running offense like that and teams start putting their safeties up, you want to threaten them. You want to back them up. You want to make them pay for trying to take away your running game. And maybe some of your bigger receivers, they're not taking the top off the defense. This guy can do that and can threaten your safeties with 6 points if you do not respect his speed. He's a veteran. He has the speed. I'm surprised he didn't stick around in Tennessee because Tennessee needs a player like this. They just weren't dynamic enough downfield, but I think the step back in production, mostly due to injuries, but when you've seen that happen before and guys say, hey, I want a fresh start, I want to get back to where I think I could be a star. Very interesting potential addition for Florida State. Does he believe enough in the ability of these guys to throw it down the field to him? There's been reports he wants to get closer to home. Like I mentioned, 5-hour drive from Pittston, Alabama to Tallahassee. If FSU were to add this player, I think it'd be a significant ad, as significant as any ad they've done in the offseason, just because he is someone that they do not have and have not had really since, when was the last time FSU had a receiver that could truly threaten you deep? Keon Coleman and John Wilson.
Those guys were good. Different types, though.
Different types. So it's been a while since FSU's had that true deep threat receiver, and I think Squirrel White would fit that bill.
I mean, again, you look at it. We talked about his career at Tennessee, but as that tweet says here, he's the 7th leading receiver in Tennessee history in terms of career receptions and 18th in terms of career receiving yards. So it's not like this is a guy who is a high upside transfer that you say, well, for whatever reason, it wasn't working out over there. The numbers were down this year, but as you mentioned, injuries had to do with that. And Florida State, I would imagine this has to be one of their top guys on their board right now.
No question about it. It's a nice portal season for FSU, right? You're talking about players that have played as opposed to last year when you were taking 5-star players that were on the bench at their prior schools, right? The Earl Littles, the Jaylen Browns, right? These were guys that just didn't play at these big schools, and you bring them in based on their high school acclaim. These are players now that have produced. Maybe they had issues like, Castellanos took a step back with Bill O'Brien, but he's produced at the college level. So, as certainly Deuce Robinson, 5-star, yes, but he played last year for USC and had success at times. So these are guys that have played, veteran offensive linemen as well. It makes a lot of sense what FSU is doing if you want to raise the floor of your program.